Good evening, everyone. Good evening, members, and Councillor Staines, who is in the gallery, and anybody who is watching on the YouTube channel. Welcome to this meeting of Local Plan Subcommittee for Thursday, 6th of November. I will start with apologies for absence. I have quite a few. So we have apologies from Councillor Tom Cunningham, substituted by Councillor Schwer, Councillor Martin, substituted by Councillor Moyle Thorogood, Councillor Monday sent apologies, no substitute appointed, Councillor Parker, substituted by Councillor Prime, Councillor Walsh, substituted by Councillor Hooks. Councillor Coleridge, I have had a message, is running a little late but should be here imminently, and we will assume that Councillor Abbott is perhaps on his way. So that's the apologies. Agenda item 2, declarations of interest. I'll do a joint declaration for Councillor Staines, who as District Councillor is known to all of us. Are there any other declarations of interest for any disclosable pecuniary interest, other registrable interest relating to items on the agenda, having taken the appropriate advice? No? Okay, good. Item 3. Good.
Chairman,
yes.
could I just raise an issue?
Yes.
This is, I think, is the third time that we have accepted a late request to speak from Councillor Staines. I think it's absolutely wrong.
Okay.
And I just want to voice my 3 times we've had this now. Despite warnings as
yes,
well.
I know.
I think personally I would move that we do not hear him.
It was, I believe, and I accept that it was late. It was 2 minutes past 12. Okay, all right. All right. Does anybody want to voice a similar or a different opinion on that? I mean, I accept that it was a couple of minutes, that it was after the deadline, and I did go back to governance and say I will allow it. I did also say that I wanted the full statement submitted by 10 a.m. this morning, which did happen.
It's just, I think, if the deadline is midday, the deadline is midday. It's a couple minutes late. Okay, so someone comes and says, well, I'm 5 minutes late, but after all, you know, okay. I'm close enough. And a member of the public might be acceptable, but for a member of the council not to know, I think is the height of rudeness.
Okay. Yeah, all right. Bear with me 1 minute. Okay, I am going to allow it now, but I am saying to Councillor Staines, and actually to anybody else, but particularly members, that I will not accept any late registrations to speak, be it 1 minute or 20 minutes or 2 hours after the deadline from now on, if the committee feels that strongly about it, which I appreciate you do, all right? So, but I think we are where we are this evening, so I will allow it tonight, okay? Councillor Schwer.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I just wish to support Councillor Butland on that. I think, you know, all councillors are well aware of the time limit, and I think basically those rules are in place for certain reasons, for timelines and from governance and everything else, and I think all councillors, whatever their experience, should abide by them.
Yes, thank you, Councillor Schwer. I don't disagree. Don't disagree with what is being said, all right? But I think since we're here this evening, we are where we are, so I'll let it go. But I will. I recognise the opinions voiced by members of the committee this evening, so I will draw a line under it after this evening. Okay.
Chairman, could you just confirm if Councillor Abbott or Councillor Coleridge have any interest?
Oh, yes. Thank you, Alison. Councillor Abbott, Councillor Coleridge, do you have any interest to declare this evening at all? No? No? Right, thank you. All right, agenda item 3, minutes of the previous meeting. These are the minutes for the 13th of October. Does anybody have any amendments wish to make? If not, could I have a mover, Councillor Bowers-Flint, and a seconder, Councillor Abbott, and a quick show of hands, please. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
There we go. Right. What's that? Just before we move on, members, and before I forget, although I think we will say this again at the end, our next meeting is on the 11th of December, and we are going to start that at 6:30. I think currently it's down for a 7:15 start, but because we're going to be reviewing a number of sites, revisiting them, it's likely to, and I don't think those will be the only things on the agenda, it's likely to be a longish meeting, so we're going to start that at 6:30. There will be a reminder going out to everybody, all members on that. Okay. Right, agenda item 4, public question time. We have one registered speaker, it's Councillor Staines, who's speaking on a number of agenda items. If you'd like to come forward, Councillor, thank you. And you have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, members. I'll be addressing agenda item 5, 6 and number 9 as well. Agenda item 5, local development plan. Can table 5 be amended with when a neighbourhood plan is overturned by this group and an ideal revision date, because the withdrawal of the UK government funding for neighbourhood plans makes keeping these all alive much less likely and supports identifying and prioritising alternative funding. Page 19, results from a rural services survey undertaken today would look very sparse when compared with the last one in 2009. Will BDC prioritise a district-wide rural services review ASAP in preparation for its handover to Unitary to address the risk that rural areas are being increasingly left behind? An up-to-date retail study could inform S106 renegotiations with Braintree Village regarding the extent of impact to the town centre. The 2023-28 economic growth strategy focuses on big stuff enabled by HGVs and needing tens of millions of pounds of new roads, while other high GVA sectors, notably tourism and rural leisure opportunities, which favour an older clientele and offer employment opportunity and wealth creation, do not require massive infrastructure but are not currently promoted to the same extent. The Dedham Vale and Stour Valley landscape designation results are now known, and they are outstanding, with tourism alone contributing over 52 million a year locally there, and these special places nationally contributing nearly 20 billion, I better say. What could be achieved in North Essex combining the developing county nature recovery strategic sites, including natural flood defence with beavers at Spains Hall, North Essex farm cluster work from Malden to Suffolk along the Pant and Blackwoods rivers, and its cultural tourism with painters, writers and composers, plush windmills, castles and well-kept conservation areas. This district has not considered tourism for some time, and this undervalues this sector's role in promoting community pride and cohesiveness, economic vitality and sustainable rural leisure. But it needs more promotion, belief and support. Today at ECC's Rural Connections event at Braxton Hall, Councillor Durham stated tourism brings 3.5 billion to the Essex economy and is the second largest employer behind construction. Not everyone wants to sell up for houses or solar farms, and with a positive, compelling alternative, they might stay and thrive, be loved by their communities forever. Locals know best, and they, with members, should lead and target all developer contribution goals, value, approval and scrutiny, and they should no longer be delegated to officers. Agenda item 6, King's Dean. Last week's substantive motion unanimously committed BDC to prioritising investment in services, facilities, etc. throughout our villages. It's great timing because the 5,000 houses in Kelvedon will be the largest development approved in BDC's 51-year history, more than double Great Notley's original 2,300 and significantly more than Great Notley and East of Great Notley combined after 30 years. What? May I just continue for a second? Thank you.
Sorry, no, we have got your statement, so
Thank you.
thank you. Okay. Right. moving on. Agenda item 5, local development scheme, November 2025. And Alan, I think you're in charge of this one.
Thank you very much, Councillor Smith. So the local development scheme is the project plan for the local plan and other planning documents such as supplementary planning documents and our assessment for conservation areas. We also cover neighbourhood planning. The LDS, for short, has to be updated as we progress through the local plan. I think the previous version went to this committee back in September last year. So it is necessary to update the LDS when you have to make changes to the timing of your plan. So the main changes to the document concern the change to the local plan timetable itself. Basically what is happening is some of the original evidence-based work is taking a little bit longer to complete than originally projected, meaning that we have to adjust the timetable so that the Regulation 18 consultation will now take place February-March 2026, when we'd previously estimated the start date of December this year. This obviously will have a knock-on impact on the remainder of the timetable. However, the committee cycle will be largely unchanged, as we wouldn't have been able to hold local plan meetings during PERDA next year anyway. So it's likely now that the Regulation 19 consultation will take place summer of 2026, with submission around about November, December 2026, which will be before the government deadline of the 31st of December. Officers recognise that this timetable is challenging, but as it stands at the moment, we're confident that this is achievable, assuming there are no further serious delays. But we will have to keep the LDS updated as we continue through the local plan process, and we'll provide further reports to this committee. Just to touch on the points about neighbourhood planning, so we do have a record in the LDS of the neighbourhood plans that are going forward and what stage they are at. Government has cancelled funding for neighbourhood plan groups. That was, I think, confirmed in June of this year. So the number of plans are going to decrease unless a parish council wishes to fund it themselves. We don't have any funding coming forward either for the local authorities. Normally we would get a grant payment towards the end of the neighbourhood plan process, which would cover costs the council had, including the examination and the referendum, so we will no longer be getting that. We have a few plans that are still working their way through. However, we do have some money remaining in the neighbourhood plan budget from previous grant years, which hopefully will be able to cover any outstanding neighbourhood plans. However, if we do run out of money, we will be having to look at potentially taking money from the local plan-based budget to afford any additional or unexpected costs that may arrive. Now, just very quickly, neighbourhood plans, they don't have to be reviewed, so there's no requirement for a neighbourhood plan to be reviewed. But like any plan, the older they get, the more out of date they get. So it would be up to a neighbourhood plan, parish council through a neighbourhood plan group as to whether or not they wanted to undertake a review of a neighbourhood plan and the timing for that. So we would need to keep an eye on that as well. And if anything came forward, we still have the duty to support neighbourhood planning. That hasn't gone away yet, but we'll see if there's any further changes on that. In terms of providing other documents through the LDS, so Rural Services Survey, we are currently looking at getting a community halls survey commissioned to help support the evidence base, and that will also provide information on the larger growth locations in terms of what sort of services they would likely be required. The retail evidence base was updated October last year, so is a relatively new document. And if there are any other economic documents which members feel would be beneficial to support the neighbourhood plan, the local plan, we'll be happy to add those to our evidence base moving forward. So yes, I think that's the last bit I have to say on that. Report recommendations on page 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Right, members, anybody like to make a comment at all? Anyone? Councillor Abbott.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Few sort of discrepancies. Paragraph 3.2 and paragraph 3.7. One talks about authorities and another talks about authority singular. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. Authorities. Yes. Authorities. Yes. 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 Yes
and I think it's the latter is the correct. The layout on table 314 has gone a bit astray.
Three 314.
Yeah. I think it's paragraph 314. Okay. And then in terms of actual detail, 715 has a list of conservation areas under development pressure, but it doesn't include Silver End. And I would have thought it logically should, given the amount of development both around Silver End and we've got the prospect of a development in the village as well. And then just to flag, Madam Chairman won't thank me, but I'm going to. 712 talks about conservation area appraisals, and it is now, I think, 13 years since we started looking at reviewing the Silver End conservation area, and it does seem to have stalled again. So I know you won't want me to say it, but it is a matter of fact, it has stalled again, and we thought we were going out to public consultation beginning of this year, and nothing's happened. Thank you.
I can give you a little bit of an update on that final point. It is all but done, apart from, my understanding is, it's designs on doors and windows, which is with Place Services, and they're being probably, let me say, not as fast as we would like at getting back to us on that. That is the only thing that's holding it up, and my understanding from development management is that when that piece of work comes in, we're ready to go. I believe that there is a suggestion that we will have a session before the end of December for the parish council, the conservation area working group, ward members, and probably myself, to present what we have so far. Hopefully that work from Place Services will be in by Christmas. That's the feeling. But regardless of that, there is a plan just to at least give the relevant bodies an update. So I appreciate it's very frustrating. It is literally waiting for that one piece of work. It's around designs on doors and windows. Yep.
Yeah, just from a board member perspective, I was aware of that, but I was told that they were slow on replying many months ago. So
Yes,
it sounds to me as if that is the stumbling block, but
well,
that's been the single stumbling block for a long time.
Yeah, it is, and that's still the case, I'm afraid. I will make a note to chase that up with Chris Padgey, but
I'm happy to take it away. if
will
that
you?
would help.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, Councillor Bowsment.
Well, all I was going to say that it helps because there is a bit of a reputational stake here of time taken to reply.
Yes.
I would suggest perhaps you write to the cabinet member responsible for Place Services. I mean, Councillor Abbott's right. That's seen through three
Yes.
portfolio holders.
Yes, right. We will take that up because it's a shame because it was rolling along actually, albeit that it's taken a long time, but it was going quite nicely, and it has stalled the last few months. All right, we'll take that away. Alan, do you want to come back on any of the other points, please?
Just to say, I mean, we're quite happy to. The AMR is the Authorities Monitoring Report. That's the general term for that sort of document. But I'm quite happy just to make that match. So we can just use those. Yeah, happy to do that.
And okay, what about adding Silver End to the?
Yes,
lost the
we're
place now.
happy to do that. I believe it's also still possibly is conservation area at risk as well. So I'll double check that, and if it is, then we're quite happy to put it under development pressure.
Okay.
Well, not put it under, flag it as a risk.
Okay. Right. Did any? Yes, Councillor Hooks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a typo actually on page 16 of the agenda, the blue table. It says Risk Stones Neighbourhood Centre, Whittam. So I think it should be Rick Stones.
Oh, yes. Okay, fine. Good. Well spotted. Right. Anyone else? Oh, dear. Right. Any other comments? No? Okay. Fine. Well, members, the recommendation is set out on page 5. Recommended that the revised local development scheme November 25 is approved by the local plan subcommittee. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Butland? No, I don't think we have. Councillor Butland's moved. Can I have a seconder, please? Councillor Prime, and a quick show of hands, please. Thank you, everybody. Right. Agenda item 6, additional housing policy, Kingsdean, Kelvedon, and this one is with Sarah.
Thank you, Chair. So members will recall this was deferred from the 20th of October meeting following a representation from the Parish Council. So subsequent to that, we have incorporated some of the wording requested by the Parish Council where it's reasonable to do so, and paragraphs 3.4 and 3.5 of the report set out where we haven't perhaps included things yet. We have an additional representation today, which I assume members have seen, which raises matters of cemeteries, which we are investigating. We just don't have a position yet. Public realm, which I think will be something we have to just pick up with highways through the Regulation 18, and the road access similarly to the north of the A12, that would have to be picked up with highways and national highways, and the site name, which I can pick up with the developer as an action. So beginning with the wording, just apologies in the report pack on page 34, the first sentence above the policy title should be in the preamble wording, and something's gone wrong in the editing. So apologies, but the top is obviously the heading rather than any sentence which will be outside the box. So in terms of the policy itself, firstly, it's looking to achieve a single comprehensive cohesive development with master planning and a design code. So very much the beginning section of the policy is looking to achieve that. Perhaps I'll stop there and we'll talk through the slides if anybody wants to comment on this slide first.
Don't see any hands up. No.
So yes, this bit is where we're trying to encourage one single cohesive development. So that's the initial draft. It may be that it needs sort of tweaking in terms of accordance with an overall master plan, but this is the starting point, and we can look at that with representations through the Reg 18. I just wonder if anybody wants to make comments on that.
No, I think you're all right to carry on.
Just under item 6 here, under Roman numeral 6, there's reference to the level crossing, which is obviously a Network Rail asset rather than a part of the development land itself. So that's something that we will get a view from Network Rail through the Regulation 18.
Okay. Yep.
And this is the final bit in terms of the initial bit. Similarly, wording around the access will be something that will be discussed through the Reg 18 with the Highway Authority, so subject to change. I don't know if anybody wants to comment on that bit.
No, I think you're all right.
Okay. So then this is a bit more detail in terms of what we're asking the illustrative master plan to do in terms of matters access, heritage, landscape, ecology.
Oh, Councillor Abbott, sorry.
Yes, the main thing I want to talk to tonight Madam Chairman, on this is, and I'm glad, by the way, it's picked up a lot of the points from the parish council. That's very welcome. Is heritage. So it starts to talk here about specific heritage assets. It mentions Felix Hall, but then that's repeated as well on page 36. So I'm just wondering whether there needs, well, this one talks about preserve and enhance character and appearance conservation area and setting of Felix Hall, but then on page 36 it talks about generous landscape buffer to preserve setting of heritage assets with a bigger list. I'm just wondering if that needs to be in one place. But also I'd like to add, I did mention this at the last meeting and I think it's a complete blind spot, to be honest, to be blunt. Rivenhall Church, Grade 1 listed, Scheduled Ancient Monument, you can't get any higher than that. And I checked today very carefully, the western edge of this proposed development is 120 metres from that Scheduled Ancient Monument, which is incredibly close. And I would think any heritage expert would say that Rivenhall Church has to be listed as one of the heritage assets which has to be protected in terms of its setting. But I don't know where you put that in and whether you meld these two together.
Okay.
I can take that away, yeah. I can certainly look at merging in terms of the heritage assets, and I can look at including Rivenhall
Okay,
Church.
well, if you're going to do that, then can I list the other ones? So, Who Hall should be listed, which is, I don't think it's a listed building, but some of these other ones aren't. I don't think Rook Hall is, but they're in there because they're old buildings, ancient farmsteads. So, Who Hall's not in there. The name of Rivenhall Church is St Mary's and All Saints. Because I checked, because the Kelvedon one is St Mary's the Virgin, so it's a similar name. Yes, and my other comment on that is in another section, but I think Rivenhall Church should definitely be singled out.
Okay.
And I don't know how we deal with that, because that is very, very close for a major development to come to such a high value heritage asset.
I think we will need to look at a buffer at the southern end of the site to keep a distance from Rivenhall anyway. So that maybe picks up in a buffer that we will put in, a sort of green buffer that will separate the site from.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Councillor Abbott. Anyone else? Councillor Thorogood.
Is there talk about any schools, medical centres going up there?
Yeah, we don't have a position yet from ECC on their need in terms of schools, and we also don't have a position from the NHS.
Well, there's only one school in Kelvedon. I grew up there for 10 years in the 70s, and there's only one school in Kelvedon.
Yes, those consultees will have input into the plan, so it isn't forgotten. We just don't have that from them yet. That's dear in terms of what their need would be. But I do understand from the planning application that is pending at the moment that ECC are in discussions with the development management team around schools provision.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Thorogood. Anyone else? No? Okay. All right.
As you can see, Councillor Thorogood, this does cover the sort of a general reference to early years, to schools, there's a general requirement for NHS preservation. We will make that more specific if we can, as the consultation happens. Sorry, I've just finished on.
Councillor Abbott.
Yeah, 2 points on this. So I'm a bit confused as to what we're actually allocating in terms of this growth location, because we added on about 600 and something other houses as well as the 5,000. So are they being treated separately to this growth location and therefore these policies wouldn't apply? Or is it all one growth location?
It's all one growth location.
So shouldn't that have the 5,600 and something?
Yes, I'll look at the number.
Okay, and then the second point was what I just spoke to earlier. The bullet point under that, it should also say Rivenhall as well as Rivenhall End, in terms of recognising the gap, because they are two, although they're part of the same parish,
Yes.
they're two settlements with a different name.
On the second bullet point, yeah, I see, yeah.
Apologies.
Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I thought the piece where it's got provision of land and financial contribution for the Gypsy and Traveller site, I thought we was going to have some consistency in regards, I think on other policies we was going to take out provision of land or financial contribution, and on this one we've got provision of land and financial contribution. So, because is that going to be the fallback position that we're not actually going to get what we need?
So I think the problem, the existing wording in the existing strategic policies has been land or, and we've ended up with money but nowhere to spend it. So we're taking a different approach to require land and financial contributions, so that we'll get some land and then we will have land to create service plots. So that it will be that all of them will be updated to say land and.
What would the proportion of that be, though?
In terms of?
In regards, will it be a little bit of land and a big financial contribution that's just going to cover it off from the developer's point of view, or are we actually going to get sizable in regards what we actually need? Because if we get them quite a lot of money but not a lot of land, then we're still not going to get what we need.
I think we need to work out a way of getting serviceable plots and deciding and controlling the size of those, so that the financial contributions aren't going towards nothing. So yeah.
Okay, Councillor Bowles-Flint.
Can I just ask a general question about Gypsy and Traveller sites? So, if my memory serves me right, the whole point of districts allocating Gypsy and Traveller sites was to stop unauthorised encampments so that they had somewhere to go. Is that still the case, before I go on?
I think it's to do with need, but Alan has done that work, so I'll
this wouldn't be for unauthorised encampments. This is to meet the need for gypsy travellers within the area. So that would be more settled travellers. There is further work going on at Essex County Council on a transit study, and that would meet the or that would be aimed at dealing with the the issue we have with stopping or a lack of stopping places. The need identified in the assessment that should meet the the natural growth of the existing gypsy traveller population. So it's this sort of two separate little bits of work. But when we're talking about the provision on the strategic growth locations, that's for the more settled gypsy travellers.
The reason I ask, Madam Chairman, is because I'll quote you a figure right now when we're being asked to really provide an awful lot of gypsy and traveller sites in the district. So this is unauthorised encampments, okay? So in the whole of Essex, and this includes Southend and Thurrock, in 2016 there was 374 encampments.
Unauthorised?
Unauthorised
Yeah,
encampments,
okay.
374. In 2025, there was 76. So if we go on them figures, I would suggest that we don't need as many as what we're actually being asked for. Who we challenge at, I don't know. But these are factual figures. So they're, and strangely enough, the biggest area of unauthorised encampments is in Braintree district in the whole of the county. So I think there's an argument there, but I just wanted to get my head around the fact that one trend is going one way and we're going the other way. That's all.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's interesting. Right. Yep.
Shall I carry on?
Yes, I think you can.
So this is again summing up what we're looking for in the site.
Okay.
Okay to move on?
Yes, yes, certainly.
Apologies, it is quite lengthy, but it is quite a big
Sorry.
site.
No, No comments, okay. Okay.
Just on this final point regarding stewardship, so I'm very mindful that this is one of the largest growth sites we'll have had in the district. This is taken from Chelmsford's approach to stewardship, and I think the team will look to engage with Chelmsford in terms of what they've learned from Bewley Park, and perhaps Tendrum with their garden community as well, so that the stewardship takes a sort of a clear approach in terms of assets and how those will be looked after, community assets and how they'll be looked after.
Okay. Yep. No comments? No, it's fine.
I think that's it.
And that's it. Thank you, Sarah. I just want to say, in terms of the site name, which I know was mentioned in the extra submission we had earlier today from that's thank you. Yes, I mean we've obviously used the name that's submitted by the developer, but as Sarah said, they will have a look at that, but that's why it's down as King's Dean at the moment, because that's the name it's been submitted under. But as Sarah said, she'll go back and talk to the developer about the comments made by Kelvedon Council on that. Right, anybody have any other comments to add on that item? If not, recommendation is on page 30, which is that the draft King's Dean policy outlined in Appendix 1 is agreed. Could I have a mover, please? Councillor Bowes-Flint, seconder Councillor Finken, and a show of hands, please. Thank you, members. That's unanimous. Right, to move on to agenda item 7, which is proposed response to Stystead Neighbourhood Plan Regulation 16, Neighbourhood Plan Public Consultation. Julie, I think you're taking this one, aren't you?
Thank you. Good evening, committee. Stystead Neighbourhood Plan has reached its Reg 16 public consultation stage. The consultation has already started and it finishes on the 2nd of December. Officers have recommended some alterations to the plan and design guides, and these are described in Appendix 1. With apologies to the committee, I would like to point out 3 errors in Appendix 1. These are all on page 49, on the table at the bottom of the page. They relate to the first 3 rows, which are shown as being in the purpose and design section in the left-hand box. The first row should be deleted, as this alteration is already included on page 51. The second row should refer to paragraph 420 in the character and design section. The third row should state character and design instead of purpose and design. And furthermore, this table should be headed as the plan. This is a detailed plan with a strong emphasis on good design and seeks to, as it states in the division, protect the environment, landscape, heritage and achieve sensitive development. It is supported by a landscape study as well as a design guide. The plan divides the village into 3 character areas and assesses the characteristics of each. Policy STICE 1 requires proposals to show how their design has been informed by the guidance provided, both in the plan and the design guide. The landscape study divides the parish into local landscape areas. It shows areas of high landscape sensitivity. It also seeks to protect visually sensitive skylines and key local views. Policy STICE 6 proposes the designation of local green spaces, and you can see their location in this slide. STICE 4 seeks to minimise the use of natural resources and incorporates measures to adapt to climate change, and STICE 5 encourages features to support wildlife. STICE 7 supports public rights of way improvements, and STICE 8 identifies 2 non-designated heritage assets and protects others. STICE 9 supports rural housing exception sites in the circumstances set out. Officers, as I've said before, have made comments in Appendix 1, and it's recommended that these are submitted as a formal response to the public consultation. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Yes, I see that the Parish Council have responded positively to the suggested amendments. Right, members, would anybody like to make a comment on that at all? No? Okay. So the... Oh, sorry. Oh, right, fine, good, yeah. No, that's fine. Thank you, Councillor Bowes-Flint. Seconded by Councillor Finken. Could I have a show of hands, please, that that's accepted? Thank you, members. Right, good. Okay, agenda item 8, Bures Hamlet and Bures St Mary Neighbourhood Plan. Alan, you taking this one?
Thank you. So the Bures and Bures St Mary Neighbourhood Plan is a unique plan for us. It's the first neighbourhood plan we've had that doesn't just cross the district boundaries, it also crosses county boundaries. This can potentially complicate matters such as referendum arrangements, but that means that it also means that once the plan, assuming it passes examination and referendum, then decisions to adopt the document will have to be made by both local authorities. The neighbourhood plan itself covers the period up to 2037 with a base date of 2021. The Council has several comments on the plan, but we do welcome the plan's emphasis on design, quality, environmental enhancement, support for community facilities and its proactive approach to transport and parking. The plan does require some factual updates, but overall it does align with the current local plan. One correction on the report is that at para 3.5.2 it refers to Bures Hamlet as a key service village, which it isn't. It's a tier 2 village. I think the confusion has came from Bures St Mary being identified as an equivalent to a key service village there, so apologies for that. Comments on the specific sections are set out from paragraph 3.6 of the report. But overall, Braintree District, we support, or officers support, the intent and direction of the plan, subject to comments contained in the report. And in terms of the next step, the examination is currently being arranged, and that decision on appointing the examiner is with us and both parish councils, and they'll be appointed in due course. It's likely that the examination should be able to commence relatively quickly and probably be finished in January. So once we've got the examiner's report, then we'll have to make the decision in after January as to whether or not to send the plan to referendum, and then obviously there will need to be some coordination between both of the council's elections teams to get that sorted out. So the recommendation is on page 53. Thank you.
Thank you, Alan. Yes, a little more complicated when it's cross-border, but hopefully manageable. Any comments from anyone? No? Right, we have actually, four-part recommendation on page 53. Would anybody like to move, please? Councillor Bowes-Flint and seconder, Councillor Finken, and a show of hands, please. Thank you, members. That's unanimous. Right, item 9, Great Bardfield Neighbourhood Plan Screening. This is Alan again.
Thank you very much. So this isn't a neighbourhood plan being approved. This is the screening. So neighbourhood plans have to be screened for strategic environmental assessment and under the habitat regulation assessment. We have to do this for neighbourhood plans. However, we haven't been making a formal decision on a screening decision, but moving forward we will need to make sure we are taking a more formal decision on whether or not to approve a screening opinion. It's generally speaking, it will be unlikely that a neighbourhood plan would require a full SEA or HRA unless it was allocating sites for housing development. The Great Barfield Plan is not proposing any sites for housing development. As such, it's been screened out for further SEA or HRA work. This screening opinion, which is at Appendix 1 of the report, has been consulted on with what's known as the environmental bodies, so that's Environment Agency, Historic England and Natural England, and they have not raised any objections to the finding of the report and agree with the assessment. So as such, Braintree can now agree the screening opinion is set out in Appendix 2, and if that's agreed, we then can publish that on our website, and we can also start making arrangements for a 6-week public consultation followed by examination on the Great Barfield Neighbourhood Plan. Recommendation is page 61. Thank you.
Thank you, Ellen. Any comments? Councillor Hooks.
I'm just happy to support and recommend the recommendation.
Moving the recommendation. Good, thank you. Second, Councillor Butland, I think you just got in there. And a show of hands, please. Thank you, members. That's unanimous. Right. Item 10, Strategic Housing Land Availability Assessment 2025. Alan.
Thank you very much. Back one, sorry. The SHLAR, as it's lovingly referred to, Strategic Housing Land Availability Assessment. This is a document which is essentially an inventory of sites which the council is aware of and which could be considered for inclusion in the local plan. Sites within the SHLAR are assessed for their suitability, availability and achievability, and the document helps support officers when making recommendations to this committee for which housing sites we should be allocating, or housing or some employment sites. The previous version of the SHLAR was from 2016, so it is necessary to update it since obviously we've had a new call for sites and we're obviously working on a new local plan. So table 1 of the report sets out some key facts and figures which show the total number of sites, how much housing they could provide and how many are greenfield or brownfield or mixed type sites. The report also outlines some key changes and trends since 2016 at paragraph 3.9. Overall, the SHLAR demonstrates that there are enough sites with housing potential to meet the required need in the local plan. It's necessary that we keep the SHLAR document up to date as well, and if further sites are submitted to the council at Regulation 18 or Regulation 19, then we will need to add those sites to the SHLAR and provide an assessment for them. And once we do that, we will have to bring the SHLAR back again for approval by this committee. So the recommendation is on page 114. Thank you.
Right, thank you, Alan. Councillor Abbott.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I did look at the tables, and my eyes stopped watering when I got to the end of them. Basically, build London if you added up all those, I think. The numbers are frightening, but I know we're required to allocate a proportion of them and not all of them. I just wanted to flag a couple of things. The increase in greenfield compared to brownfield. The fact that the old factory site in Silver End still lies derelict after 2 decades. An eminently developable brownfield site, whereas around Cressing and Silver End we continue to see estates on greenfield sites. And I think it is a failure of planning that that site has remained brownfield for so long. Question, I don't know whether this is a legislative thing or if it's in the National Planning Policy Framework. For the local plan, we technically allocate if they're 10 and over, I believe. Mm-hmm. But for the SHLAR, that lovely name, it says it's 5 and over. Is there a technical reason why that's the case?
I believe it's from the guidance on land availability assessments, which specifies 5. The local plan, we only do 10 plus because that's the threshold for major developments. So it's two different things we're looking at.
Okay, right, thank you. I will just say that the factory site in Silver End, I do know that discussions are ongoing. I know it's very slow, but it hasn't stalled, actually. It's probably not as fast as we would like, but there are still discussions with the landowner ongoing about using that site. So I think something will happen eventually. Any other comments? Councillor Bowers.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. It's got in the report that Cressin's a second tier village. Is that correct? I thought it was third. I may be wrong.
I would have to double check that for you, but if we can just get the local plan up. Maybe a case if we've got Cressin or Cressin Tie mixed up. I don't just said that.
People live there, get that messed up. People will call where the school is Ty Green. Ty Green actually is from the top of Mill Lane to the new development. It's not all called Ty Green because we have Horbush Green, we have Withys Green as well. So it's just, I would be NIMBYism and say it's the new people have renamed it.
Okay.
Okay, so we have Cressin Tie.
Soon to be Braintree.
Apologies. So we have Cressin Tie Green as in the current local plan as second tier, with Cressin Village as third tier. Fortunately, I mean the format of the SHLA, it actually comes from an Excel spreadsheet, so it's relatively easy to update for us. So if there are any corrections like that are required, then we're quite happy to do that, and we are trying to explore another way to make it a little bit more user friendly as well. Because we acknowledge the fact that it's not a very easy document to look at, and I think we reissued a copy of that table, which is on the website, which should be a little bit clearer. So apologies.
Okay, thanks, Alan. Right, any other comments on that item? No? Right, and the recommendation is on page 114 that we approve the SHLA 2025 as part of the evidence base of the local plan review. I have a mover, Councillor Abbott, seconder, Councillor Bowers-Flint, and a show of hands, please. Thank you, members. That's unanimous. So we move on. The final item is Braintree District Local Plan Review, General Progress Update. Sarah, are you doing this, and do you have anything?
I don't have anything this evening.
Right,
Thank you, Chair.
okay. Right, in that case, members, that is the, we've finished because we have no urgent business. So I can close
Madam
the
Chairman,
meeting.
never
Yep.
has an agenda of 152 pages
Well-
been done so quickly.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair, very fair point, actually. I'm slightly amazed. We finished at about 24 minutes past 7. So thank you, members. And just a reminder, 11th of December will be a 6:30 start. Thank you.